All right. Thanks everyone for joining today. October 1st, first day of October. We are in the fourth quarter, and this is our monthly update and time for questions on the KEPRS system. I think I've met everybody on here, but I'm Richard Miller. And I've only got a couple of items that I really wanted to specifically get into today, and then we'll just completely open it up for anybody who has any questions at all about the KEPRS system. So what I wanted to share with you was some new verbiage that we have put into the IHE EPP profile. So if you're in that application and you've been making updates and changes to the clinical partnership question, this was a change, or really just it's an emphasis that we made last week. I forget, it was Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. And the new wording, I'll just share this with you and read it to you. It says, under the clinical partnerships question, it says, describe the mutually beneficial clinical partnerships with P12 schools and community arrangements that are currently active. Include in the description how partners are involved, either in person or via technology, in the co-creation, implementation, and evaluation of the clinical preparation that facilitates continuous improvement. And there's an awful lot in there, but we were trying to get closer and closer to what CAPE is asking for as well. Then the last piece of this is to delineate between the programs at the initial and advanced levels, including other school professionals, if these partnerships and practices are different. Oops, let me back up one. Let me just ask everybody in the group, and I see we now have 21 folks online, and I've got just about everybody muted. Let me just pause right here and ask if there are any questions. Everybody's going to take it easy on me today, huh? You'll notice at the top of this, in this area here, we've got the academic year was already selected for 18-19. So if you've been keying answers in prior to this and you had selected the 17-18 academic year, that answer would remain with that academic year. Okay.
Rich?
Yep.
I have a quick question. So this is separate from MOAs or anything like that, correct?
Not necessarily. If you have an MOA that deals with your clinical partnerships, this is where you would reference it.
Okay. So
you wouldn't attach it here. You would attach it separately under the supporting documents, but you might want to reference it here.
All right. And you, in terms of via technology, what are we talking about? So when we interact with our partners using WebEx or Skype or Zoom or something like that, or?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
One of the responses that we sometimes get on that for the person who is inquiring about technology is sometimes they're participating with the school districts in Google Classrooms and things like that. So that's what it's asking, is how are you keeping up with your clinical partners? Are you doing webinars? Are you, how do you use technology instead of always having them come to you for a meeting?
In this area, then we're basically providing a synopsis of things, the kinds of things that we do, including WebEx or anything like that. In fact, I was just trying to schedule one on Wednesday, so I'm good. Thanks.
Good.
These are just general things that you have available that people have used. I mean, sometimes you're using emails. I mean, sometimes you're texting. You're sending out a full-blown text to people. I mean, how are you using technology when you do collaboration with your partners?
And this is EPP wide because there's a separate question at the program level. Okay. And that's really the only, I think, noticeable change that we've made in KEPRS. We do, in the background, have been making several changes to things like filtering or sorting or trying to improve the drop downs or some of the graphical interfaces. So you may notice little changes here and there, but I didn't think it was really worth our time as a group to go over those individually. But this one was significant enough we thought we needed to point it out. So the next one I've got, and it deals with all this, the SB1 training for the clinical educators. And the place where you enter and make this change is you go to the clinical educator module or tab, and then you're either going to be adding training or you're going to be editing training if it's an update to the time or the date that you've done some of the SB1 training. You would select the delivery method and the training date and then select update. We had a good question this morning where they're making use of the university supervisor, and there was a question about the qualified courses qualified to teach. If that supervisor in the program is really, the strict rule is just supervising, they don't actually teach a course, you don't have to put in a course. You'd give them that role of being, a supervisor. And I'm guessing they would have to have the SB1 training as well.
Rich?
Yep.
This is Lisa Allen. I went in and I entered the SB1 training by editing. It would not allow me to add the training. When I originally did it, I wanted to, so everybody's previous SB1 training would still be showing, but it wouldn't allow me to do that. I ended up having to edit.
Yeah, you end up replacing it because we're not, I'd have to check with our developers. I don't think we put an end date on the date and then give you and track the new one, but I'd have to check that. And it will not let you key in a duplicate training record. So you would have to say the SB1 and then change the date and say update.
Well, I did that. It wouldn't let me. I changed the, when I did enter it now, when I did it for edit, it did allow me to change the date and update. So
Right.
they're in, but it would not. What I originally wanted to do was add this training. So their previous training and this training would be visible, but I wasn't able to do that.
Okay, and that's currently not in the design, but I'll go back and ask with Allison and Eve if they want to keep a history of the SB1 training.
I don't know if you want us to answer that, Rich, but I think the reason we didn't add trainings is that the way the report generates out is it only generates out 1 year's worth of data for me. So if you're adding in lots of different reports, maybe we can program it differently, but currently it's taking the latest entry, and that's what it's reporting.
Right, and that was just for ease of reporting, but and again, between you and Allison, unless you can tell me here right now, if there is a need to maintain a history of these trainings, we'd have to make some changes in the background, but we could accommodate that.
Well, we would already have access to a history because every October or December, whenever that report on Senate Bill 1 training goes to the board, we've got the history of that yearly report.
But that would be a hard copy extract, right? It'd be a hard copy export. It would not be in KEPRS.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
the KEPRS would generate the report on a yearly basis.
Right.
And then we would have those reports that have gone to the board then for how many ever number of years we've been reporting to the board.
Okay.
But
Yep.
the system wouldn't keep track of the history, but staff would because of the.
Yeah, we have a file that has the history. What I think is a good question that just got asked is, do we want to keep a history from henceforth? We've got the previous history because
Right.
we've got a file with each of the years. But the way this works and operates, and that's the question that's being asked. So I think we need to think about that, because if we need a history, then they're going to have to add the trainings from henceforth.
Yep. Thanks, Lisa. Good question. Another question that came up recently was with reference to updating the syllabi. And the way that you would do this is you would go to the courses tab or the courses module. The first step would be to look at your grid, which is usually on the bottom half of the screen, and then select the edit option on the course. You then get a pop-up, and the pop-up looks like this mini screen here. You probably already have a syllabus in there, and it would show you the current file name of the syllabus that you have. You would say select files. You would then give you another pop-up which shows you the files on your system. You would select the replacement syllabus, say open, and it would reflect the new file for the syllabus for that course, and then you would select update. Excuse me. And in this case, KEPRS is maintaining a history of the old syllabi. So what you would see is this English 8-12 PDF would be replaced with the new file. That would be the current syllabus. And in the inventory view, you would also see the current syllabus. But in the system, the KEPRS system would have the older file as well. Any questions on courses, on how to replace a syllabus? All right. And another question that came in a couple of weeks ago was in reference to the program closure date. And the closure date request actually becomes effective the day when you submit that request. So when you go into the program closure function, if you've been given permissions and you have access, the first thing you do is you pick the category, and then you pick the code. And then if it's got a number of students in the pipeline, you'll be asked to attach your teach-out plan. If there are no students, you can close the program. You select your program closure reason and hit submit. And this change is immediate. You are making this change in the system and in the program manager behind the scenes, and you will be blocked from doing admissions on that particular code. Now, if you've got a special situation where you know you're closing the program and you're going to complete a particular semester and you want to go through the closure process, you can do that, but you'd need to send an email, probably to Allison, alerting her that you want to have a future date for that closure. And she can go into the program manager and make that change for you. Any questions on the program closure? You guys are easy today. All right, let me open it up then. Are there any other questions in the KEPRS system that we can try to help you with?
Hey, Rich.
Yep.
I do have a question about the syllabi we're uploading. How
Okay.
generic is generic? If we don't add specific professor information, I'm assuming that's fine, but what about like how the course lays out over however many weeks? Or do you only want learner outcomes and goals for the specific course?
I mean, Allison, do you want to comment?
Yes. Okay. When we're looking at syllabi, we're looking for the evidence of the integration and how the standards are being addressed. We're looking for alignment with the assessments. So the whole thing about the course sequence, what do you teach in week 4 that's not, something that we really focus on. We're looking for evidence within the syllabus of how that course, what the field experiences or clinical practice that might be associated with the requirements for that course. That's kind of information we're looking at the syllabi for.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So, Rich, I wanted to go back to the question for the mutually beneficial clinical partnerships.
Yep.
All right. Where is this is showing up in the IHE profile, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Because I'm okay. But then in the responses, when you select a particular program,
Yes.
and then you go to the responses and click on the clinical experiences, okay, the question pops up again, correct?
You get a different question.
You get a little bit different question.
No, you get the original one. We haven't changed that one. And
Right.
if you need me to change that, I can do it.
Right. No, because at the program level, this is program specific to allow institutions to talk about maybe particular programs have something different than what is at the EPP level. Now, if a particular program doesn't have anything that's different, they do it the exact same way for every program that has the similar attributes, meaning it functions the exact same way. Then what we would expect to see might either be a copy and a paste or a reference to see response provided in the profile.
EPP profile, right.
Right, because I know that the question in the clinical experiences at the program level in the responses tab talks about the technology-based collaboration and the shared responsibility, where the profile, it talks about how the partners are involved in the creation, the implementation and evaluation. So that's more kind of at the planning stage, and their inclusion in the continuous improvement processes. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood the difference.
Okay. So once again, we'll open it up, see if there are any other questions today. And while we've got Allison and Eve on, any other questions relative to OELE? Is something that's maybe outside of KEPRS? Well, I think we broke a record. We did today's meeting in about 20 minutes. Thank you, folks. Appreciate your time and attention. And as always, if you have some questions, please send us a note, and maybe we'll put them in the queue for next month's meeting.
Eve, I have a quick question.
If she's still on.
I'm still on. Sure, go ahead.
The report that you're generating, it's the same report that we see, correct? The Excel file?
Oh, the SB1.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not keeping Excel files this year. We're keeping everything from KEPRS.
Yeah, but there is there is an Excel file in KEPRS that.
Yes, when I do the export, that's what I'm sending to Eve. She'll see what you see.
All right, good deal. I just wanted to make sure if there was any other place that we should be looking for different type of information. Okay.
Right. No, we've already started looking at it. It's just an Excel file. You just don't have to redo the Excels anymore. We just pull it out of KEPRS.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Rich, I think Faye had a chat question.
Oh, when you have the recording posted and where? I'll send out an email probably here before the end of day with this recorded session.
Where do you post those to make them available?
I'll send you a link. I'll send a link to this distribution line because I don't know it exactly. I know it goes back onto the Moodle website, EPSB main website, and it's a long URL that's like 100 characters long. So I'll just send a link.
Okay. Any other chat questions?
Okay, folks. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rich.